Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. Given that we are recording this one a little bit early, our main topic is actually a bit of a catch-up on last week. The World Economic Forum, of course, happened in Davos. All throughout last week, we covered a couple of the big conversations, the AGI timeline conversation from Demis Hassabis and Dario Amodei, among other things. But overall, what was the vibe there? I will say before I get into that I sometimes don't even want to cover this type of news, because I think that more or less, for those of you who are just trying to understand what AI is going to mean for you, how it's going to impact your career, your company, your job, ignoring basically everything that happens in the types of conversations that go on at a place like Davos, ignoring all the conversation around markets and infrastructure buildouts and bubbles, you'd basically be better off taking all of that time that you would spend thinking about what people were jabbering about, and instead taking that time to just go figure out how to build with these tools. Yet, of course, we live in the world that we live in, and like it or not, the conversations that happen in Davos are a useful reflection on what global leaders think about this moment, and so give us insight into the context in which this industry and this technology is going to operate. One side of the conversation was the voices coming from the tech industry. Reuters summed up that voice as jobs, 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 the AI mantra in Davos as fears take a back seat. Now, that is a specific reference to NVIDIA's Jensen Huang, who basically made the argument that the amount of demand for chips, the infrastructure layer that needs to be built, the energy infrastructure that needs to be built to service it, is all a big moment of job creation. And indeed, I think it is the case that fairly uniquely relative to other moments of creative destruction, even the transitional moment has the potential for a lot of creation as well. I think Jensen is right to identify that there is a lot more skilled labor outside of knowledge work that needs to be developed for this transition. In other places, tech leaders talked about the productivity benefits that they were seeing. Cisco talked about projects that had been too tedious to even contemplate before, that could now be done in a couple of weeks. IBM's chief commercial officer, Rob Thomas, said that AI was at the ROI stage. He told Reuters, "You can truly start to automate tasks and business processes." TechCrunch said that even though we anticipated AI being a big topic of conversation, the extent to which it shaped the event, with even the physical surrounding being dominated by tech companies and pavilions, was notable. And yet, of course, if the technology folks were excited, concerns about AI-related job displacement were on the agenda as well. Christy Hoffman, the general secretary of the 20 million member strong Uni Global Union, said AI is being sold as a productivity tool, which often means doing more with fewer workers. International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva called AI a tsunami hitting the labor market, with the potential to transform or eliminate 60% of jobs in advanced economies and 40% globally. Now, I remember a study from a couple of years ago from one of the big global institutions, IMF or World Bank or one of them, that basically had those numbers, so I assume that's what she's talking about. Providing some bright spot, she thought that as high-skilled workers see their wages rise because of AI, they would likely consume more in ways that benefited the local service economy. She said 1 in 10 jobs is already enhanced by AI, and the people in these jobs are paid better. When they're paid better, they spend more money in the local economy. They spend more money in restaurants here or there. Demand for low-skilled jobs goes up. And actually, total employment seems to slightly increase because of it. Now, for those who might be skeptical of this or seem like it feels relatively Pollyannish, there have been studies that have shown that, for example, in San Francisco, for each new local tech job, 4.4 jobs for positions like retail clerks, cooks, teachers, and dentists is also created. At the same time, the IMF still has some big concerns. The two that stood out is stagnating middle-class wages, especially for jobs that are not enhanced by AI, and increasing barriers to youth employment as AI takes over the entry-level tasks. Now, behind the scenes in Davos, there was also a lot of jockeying for position. The Information wrote a piece all about how some Davos meetings were part of what seems to be a larger strategy for OpenAI to get more aggressive about its enterprise recruitment. Now, this effort was not strictly restricted to Davos. In fact, last week in San Francisco, Sam Altman hosted an extended business dinner with Disney CEO Bob Iger and other corporate execs. The Information writes that the gathering was intended to preview a new OpenAI offering aimed at large companies, but they could not determine what that offering was. All that was happening while OpenAI COO Brad Lightcap and new Chief Revenue Officer Denise Dresser were schmoozing over in Davos. Clearly, the company is trying to message that they are, in fact, not behind when it comes to enterprise. In a Davos session, OpenAI CFO Sarah Fryer said that by the end of the year, approximately 50% of their business will come from enterprise customers. And Sam Altman tweeted that they had added more than $1 billion in ARR over the last month just from their API business. Very clearly trying to shift the narrative, he says, "People mostly think of us as ChatGPT, but the API team is doing amazing work." So what does this all add up to? It's kind of hard to tell. Part of the reason that we may not be able to have quite as strong a sense of what the general sentiment around AI was is just that there were, of course, other more geopolitical conversations that made even the AI conversation take a back seat. I think if anything, Jamie Dimon's crisp realism that no one can put their head in the sand, that AI is not a force that is likely to be stopped, but that there could be challenges for how fast it's going to cause change in society that we may have to address, might be a fairly good representation of the median. Mostly, it's kind of notable to me just how little the momentum cares. Going back to my initial point, if you mostly are interested in AI when it comes to how it's going to impact your life, let's just say you can safely switch from this headline section to what might be a much more pertinent main episode.